welcome to this online master in international sports law. I'm going to deliver a lecture on transfers and on buyout clause. The transfer is, first of all, what happened when a player moves from one club to another. And we are going to focus on international transfer because it's the international sports law master, and then we are going to use the FIFA regulations on the transfer status of player. First, what a transfer is. A transfer is when three parties agree to have a player coming from one to the other. One club is the current holder of a contract with the player plays under this contract, and then another club wants the player. The three of them agree on an amount, and then the player is free. This is a transfer. What about the buyout clause? The buyout clause has a slightly different issue. Why? Because there are no three people or three parties agreeing on the transfer. This is crucial to understand. You have one party signing a contract with the player with a buyout clause indicating that contract, which means that you can buy your contract and walk for free to another club. But the third club is not agreeing with the first club. So the two of them are normally against the first club, against the transfer, and the second one is the only one who wishes to have the player. What happened in those cases? You have an agreement signed by the player and the first club, and then it should be exactly as a transfer. No. CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, has already decided in a very famous case involving Barcelona, the player Keita, and the club Seville, that the transfer is not the buyout clause, and it's not the same. Let me explain exactly that, and then you will see the differences. In that particular case, Keita, a player from France, was transferred from Lens, a club in the north of France, to Seville. They agreed on an amount, this is a transfer, and Lens reserved 10% of a future transfer. What we have that is a clear transfer. Seville and the player, Mr. Keita, agreed on an amount, a buyout clause amount, of 14 million, and everything above the transfer from Lens and Seville was going to have this 10% for Lens. What happened? Barcelona wanted the player when Seville was the top of the hill in Spain. They won the Spanish Cup, they won the UEFA Cup, now Europa League, and then the best player of the club was Keita. Barcelona tried to have a transfer with Seville, but Seville refused. Why they refused? Because he was the best player of the team, and they have lost the championship, the Spanish championship, by 3 points only. So really, they didn't want to sell the player as a transfer player to Barcelona. So Barcelona used the buyout clause and bought the player, bought the contract of the player without the consent of Seville. Then Lens wanted this 10% of share. Sure, why not? It's a transfer. They went to FIFA. I was the lawyer of Seville. We refused to pay. We said this is not a transfer, it's a buyout clause. Then you don't have the right to take the 10%. After that, they won, as I said, in FIFA. We went to CAS, and we won in CAS. And in CAS, we were awarded a decision in which you have clearly stated the two differences. One, there's not agreed amount between the first club and the second club, not agreed amount at all. The amount was agreed by the first club with the player, and then the second club, Barcelona in this case, bought the player by paying the amount. There was not a transfer. So the post Lens lost the case. This is much important to understand. Then you have a transfer by a buyout clause, which doesn't mean the transfer in the sense of a legal transfer, but transfer according to the FIFA regulations. That means that you go from one country to another. And this is another key point. When you have a transfer in the legal sense, you just sign a contract between the three parties, player, first club, and second club, and then FIFA released the ITC, International Transfer Certificate, from one country, one federation, to another one. This is clear. But when you have a payment of a buyout clause, it's not that easy. Not that easy. It should be easy, but it's not that easy. Because sometimes you have all the former club willing to delay the ITC, or you have, in the case that we are going to talk about now, with the Neymar case, the very same Spanish league wanted to delay that transfer, that ITC. So, according to the rules in Spain, you have two rules. One is the law, which agrees that a player, not a football player, any professional in a club, basketball, handball, water polo, etc., can have a clause, a buyout clause, in which he can work for free, paying, of course, the amount. And you have the second regulation, which is not a law, it's just a mere regulation, but it's a regulation of the league, in which it is stated that for the league, first and second division, not for third division or for fourth division, but for first and second division, whenever a club, foreign or national club, it says only a club, pays the amount stipulated in the contract, the so-called buyout clause, then you just have to send a check or to give a check to the league, and the league will deal with everything else, meaning that they will send the money to the club, the former club, and they will release the player. They will terminate the contract of the player in the league. They will send that to the federation, the Spanish FA, and then the player will be free immediately, or maximum 24 hours. What happened in the case of Neymar? This is not only a case of buyout clause, not only a case of football, it's a case also of power. The Spanish league was going to lose one of his assets, one of the best players. In the last 5 or 6 years, he has always been in the 3 or 4 best players in the world. So what they did is try to delay as much as possible the sending of the ITC from the Spanish FA to the French FA. And against their own regulations, in the league, they just did not accept the check. I was one of the lawyers of PSG, and I had the check with me with the CFO of PSG. We went to the league, and there in the league they said, no, we don't want the check. They did not explain why at the time. They explained later on when they send a letter to the notary public that we have used in order to take care of everything what's going to happen in the league. And they explained that, but I will go back to that later. So we went there, we have the check, we have a notary public there, because we were aware that maybe the Spanish league would not be agreeing to take the check against their own regulations. So we were there, they did not explain why, and I told the notary public to say, look, this is what you said, I just write what you said, and we walk. We walk, and we went back to the notary public office, in which we have an act, written act by the notary public, explaining that. And our second move, plan B, we can say, was to go to Barcelona, because if the league, against the regulations as said, had not accepted the check, then we had to go to Barcelona. It would have been different of all and every buyout clause that we had in the past, but it was the first plan B that occurs to me. So before going to Barcelona, let's come back to what happened in the league. The league, we went out of the league, and the league asked me to talk to the notary public. And they explained then what was their point. And I was saying that it's not only a mere buyout clause because of this. They told us, they told the notary public, and then us, of course, because we were the recipient of the answer, they said that it was not acceptable because it was against the financial fair play of UEFA. But it's funny because they are not UEFA, they are Spanish league. It's funny because they don't know about financial fair play. It's UEFA to take care of that. And then they just decided to use this course, is not, it's an excuse, really, it's not an excuse. It's not a legal point, it's an excuse. By the way, after we knew that they already sent a claim against PSG at UEFA in order to open disciplinary proceedings against the French club at UEFA level for the misuse or abuse of financial fair play. The case is still pending, so we can't talk about that right now. But come back to the use of the buyout clause. Then we went to Barcelona. And of course, we gave the check. And Barcelona said, okay, the check is here, but we want the check to be in our account. And it takes some time. It takes 1, 2, or 3 days. It was also a trick for Barcelona in order to also try to complain about the behavior of PSG and also to try to calm their own public and fans. So until the money did not come to their account, the player was there not giving the ITC. What would have happened if the ITC was not given by Barcelona on time? Would have gone to the FIFA Player Status Committee in order to recall the provisional ITC, which is given in 15 to 20 days. But of course, the player and PSG would have lost those 15 to 20 days. At last, the club, Barcelona, received the money, received the check, and they were happy enough to release the ITC of the player. So, as you see, a simple moment, which is giving the check, can have consequences like the ITC of the player is not released, that we can go, or we should go to the ITC, provisional ITC in FIFA, that a club can refuse. What would happen if the club would have refused? Plan A, the league, and against their own regulation, they refuse the check. Plan B, Barcelona, and they refused to. Why? They said, we haven't agreed with the player. We haven't agreed with the player. And why? And this is another case which is pending in the court in Barcelona. The player renewed the contract 9 months before he terminated it by the payment of the buyout clause. And he got some money in advance for that contract. So Barcelona said that the amount in the contract of 222 million is not the amount due to Barcelona. It's that amount plus all the money given in order to sign the contract as a sign-on fee. And this is a case that we have now, right now, in Barcelona court. So a mere and simple buyout clause is not only that. Now we have the ITC release. There could have been ITC provisional, but not needed because Barcelona accepted. Then we have the claim of Barcelona before the court asking not for the amount, because you already received the 222, but also for the amount given to the player as a sign-on fee, which I'm not going to talk about because I'm the lawyer of PSG in this case in Barcelona, so it's something that I might talk afterwards. And we have the mere payment of the 222, which has been received by Barcelona. And on the side, you have the league in a complicated political move and not a legal move, has asked UEFA to open a disciplinary proceeding because of this amount paid against the financial fair play according to the league. First, the league is nobody to do that. Secondly, UEFA opened disciplinary proceedings because of what? Because a claim by the Spanish league is weird. It's really weird. Because normally UEFA is taking the floor only by itself, or when it happens that something has happened, legally speaking. But in this case, it was just a player moving as other players have moved. But Herrera moved from Bilbao to Manchester United. Javi Martinez moved from Bilbao to Bayern München, and we have several others too. And never we had any move by UEFA. Why now? Because I think that UEFA is a bit concerned about the money brought by PSG. It's not a rich club from old times. It's not Bayern München, Manchester United, the City, or Chelsea, or Barcelona, Madrid. It's a newcomer. It's a club that has been founded in 1970 only. And maybe the old clubs are a bit afraid of its power, its economic power, which will translate soon in a sporting power. And instead of being sacked from the Champions League in the last 16 or the quarterfinals, they might go to the final and win the Champions League. So this is another guy or another kid on the block. And the new kid on the block there is not the one the old guys are wanting to. So that's why this mere by the clause is becoming a political clause, in my opinion. And this is a short explanation about by the clause and its consequences. Thank you very much.